What I focus on, I track. I track. What I focus, I track. Thought shaping reality. Total focus on the goal. What I focus on, I track. I track. I track. I track. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. What I focus on, I track. Thought shaping reality strong. I live total focus on the goal all along. What I focus on, track. Focus your tracks here. What I focus on, I track. Crystal clear. What I focus on, I track. Thought shaping reality now. I live total focus on the goal. Thought shape reality. I take a vow. What I focus on, I track. I track. What I focus on, rise. What I focus on, I track. Win the prize. What I focus on, I track. Thought shaping reality real. I live total focus on the goal. Focus on the goal. That's the deal. What I focus on, I track. Focus, attract, shine. What I focus on, I track. By design. What I focus on, I track. Thought shaping reality pure. I live total focus on the goal. Shaping reality with thoughts, I'm sure. What I focus on, I track. I track. What I focus on here. What I focus on, I track. Thought shaping reality blessed. I live total focus on the goal. Focus, attracts, I'm blessed. What I focus on, I track. Focus on the goal, complete. What I focus on, I track. Can't be beat. Focus, focus, attract, rise. Reality, reality, claiming the prize. Thoughts, 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 strong. Focus, focus, where I belong. What I focus on, I attract. But shaping reality, total focus on the goal. What I focus on, I attract. Focus on the control, thought, shape reality. Total focus on track, track. What I focus on, Carly, I attract. Thought, shaping reality. Total focus on the goal. Shaping reality, the wrong. What I focus on, I attract. Total focus, get nothing but focus on the reality. What I focus on, I attract. What I focus on, I attract. Thought, shaping reality true. I live total focus on the goal, breaking through. What I focus on, I attract. Focus attracts, they're bright. What I focus on, I attract. Burning bright. What I focus on, I attract. Thought shaping reality set. I live total focus on the goal. Thought shape reality, no regret. What I focus on, I attract. I attract. What I focus on, rise gold. What I focus on, I attract. Thought shaping reality deep. I live total focus on the goal. Focus on the goal. Promises I keep. What I focus on, I attract. Focus attract, fly. What I focus on, I attract. Reaching high. What I focus on, I attract. Thought shaping reality fire. I live total focus on the goal. Shaping reality with thoughts reaching higher. What I focus on, I attract. I attract. What I focus on, free. What I focus on, I attract. Thought shaping reality locked. I live total focus on the goal. Shaper never block. What I focus on, I attract. Focus on the goal, complete way. What I focus on, I attract. Every day. Focus, focus, track, fly. Reality, reality, reaching high. Thoughts, thoughts, free. Focus, focus, setting me free. What I focus on, I attract. Love is moving reality, total focus on the goal. What I focus on, I attract. Focus on the goal. Thought shape reality. What I focus on, I attract. What I focus on, concretely, I attract. Thought shaping reality, total focus on the goal. Shaping reality with fires. What I focus on, I attract. Total focus in the eating wall. Thought shaping reality. What I focus on, I attract. What I focus on, I attract. What I focus on, I attract.
Now or never. Now or never. Now or never. The decisive moment, act without hesitation. Let's go.
Now or never. The decisive moment, act without hesitation. Strong. I live act now all along. Now or never. Decisive moment here. Now or never. Crystal clear. Now or never. The decisive moment, act without hesitation. Now I live act now, now never. I take a vow. Now or never. Act without hesitation. Rise. Now or never. Claiming the prize. Now or never. The decisive moment, act without hesitation. Real. I live act now without hesitation. That's the deal. Now or never. Decisive moment, shine. Now or never. By design. Now or never. The decisive moment, act without hesitation. Pure. I live act now without hesitation. Now I'm sure. Now or never. Act without hesitation. Here.
Now or never. Crystal clear.
Now or never. The decisive moment, act without hesitation. Blessed. I live act now, now never. I'm blessed. Now or never. Decisive moment complete.
Now or never. Can't be beat. Now or never. Rise. Moment, moment, moment. Claiming the prize. Act strong. Now.
Now, where I belong.
Now, never. Rise. Moment, 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 moment. Claiming the prize. Act strong.
Now or never. That's just your moment. Act without hesitation. Act now or never. now, never moment. Without hesitation, now a moment. Without hesitation, now a moment. Without hesitation, now sensation. Now or never. The decisive moment, act without hesitation. True, I live, act now, breaking through. Now or never. Decisive moment here, bright. Now or never. Burning bright. Now or never. The decisive moment, act without hesitation. Said I live, act now, never, no regret. Now or never, act without hesitation, rise gold. Now or never, being bold. Now or never, the decisive moment, act without hesitation, deep. I live, act now without hesitation, promises I keep. Now or never, decisive moment, fly. Now or never, reaching high. Now or never, the decisive moment, act without hesitation, fire. I live, act now without hesitation, now reaching high. Now or never, act without hesitation, free. Now or never, setting me free. Now or never, the decisive moment, act without hesitation, lock. I live, act now, never block. Now or never, decisive moment, complete way. Now or never, every day. Now or never, fly. Moment, reaching high. Act free. Now, setting me free. Now or never, fly. Moment, reaching high. Act free. Now or never, decisive moment. Act without hesitation. Now or never, decisive moment. Surely though now or never. Act without hesitation. Never. Act without hesitation. Now or never. Now the decisive moment. Now or never. Now never. Act without hesitation. Never. Act without hesitation. Never. Act without hesitation. Sensation. Now or never. Decisive moment, act without hesitation, power. Now or never. Now or never. Now or never. Oh! Cut weakness! Cut weakness! Cut weakness! Eliminate everything that slows you down, habits, doubts, fear. Cut weakness! Let's go! Cut weakness! Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear, strong. I live, eliminate what slows you. Eliminate everything, eliminate what slows you here. Cut weakness! Crystal clear. Cut weakness! Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear now. Fear now. I live, eliminate what slows you. Cut the weakness, I take a vow. Cut weakness! Habits, doubts, fear, rise. Cut weakness! Claiming the pride. Cut weakness! Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear, real. I live, eliminate what slows you down. That's the deal. Cut weakness. Eliminate what slows you shine. Cut weakness. By design. Cut weakness. Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear, pure. Fear, pure. I live, eliminate what slows you. Cut the weakness, I'm sure. Cut weakness. Habits, doubts, fear, here. Cut weakness. Crystal clear. Clear. Weakness. Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear, bless. Fear, bless. I live, eliminate what slows you down. I'm blessed. Cut weakness. Eliminate what slows you complete. Cut weakness. Heavy beat. Cut weakness. Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear, bless. Eliminate what slows you down. I said demon. Eliminate what slows you. Cut weakness. Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear. Eliminate what slows you. Cut the weakness. Cut the weakness. Cut the weakness. Cut weakness. Cut weakness. Can't be made. Cut weakness. Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear. Eliminate what slows. Cut weakness. Eliminate what slows you. Big Supreme. Cut the weakness. Cut weakness. Eliminate everything. Weakness. Cut weakness. Eliminate what slows you. Big Supreme. Cut the weakness. Cut weakness. Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear, deep. I live, eliminate what slows you down. Promises I keep. Cut weakness. Eliminate what slows you fly. Cut weakness. Reaching high. Cut weakness. Eliminate everything that slows you down. Habits, doubts, fear, fire. I live, eliminate what slows you. Cut the weakness. bad, slows you down, habits, doubts, fear, deep, 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 deep. Cut weakness. Cut weakness. Cut weakness.
Energy that when it turns, energy that when it turns. Energy that returns, anything that returns. Energy that returns, energy that returns, stronger, strong. I live with you and it returns all along. Energy that returns, energy comes back stronger. Hit. Energy that returns, stronger, stronger now. I live with you and it returns stronger. I take a vow, energy that returns, emit and receive. Rise. Energy that returns, everything in return, stronger, real. I live with you when it returns, energy returns, that's the deal. Energy that returns, energy comes back stronger, shine. Energy that returns, by design, energy that returns, everything you make returns, stronger, pure. I live with you when it returns, comes back stronger, I'm sure. Energy that returns, emit and receive here. Energy that returns, crystal clear. Energy that returns, everything you in return, stronger, blessed. I live with you when it returns, all stronger, I'm blessed. Energy that returns, energy comes back stronger, I'm clear. Energy that returns, energy that receive here. Energy that returns, crystal clear. Energy that returns, everything you in return, stronger, blessed. I live with you when it returns, so I'm stronger, I'm blessed. Energy that returns, energy comes back stronger, complete. Energy that returns, energy, rise stronger, taking the prize. In it, beat wrong. Energy, why belong? Energy that returns, energy that returns, rise stronger. Energy that returns, energy that returns, everything you and me returns, stronger, true. I live with you when it returns, breaking through. Energy that returns, energy comes back stronger, here bright. Energy that returns, burning bright. Energy that returns, everything you emit, the stronger set. I live with you when it returns, trying to stronger, no regret. Energy that returns, emit and receive, rise gold. Energy that returns, being bold. Energy that returns, everything you emit returns, stronger, deep. I live with you when it returns, energy returns, promises I keep. Energy that returns, energy comes back stronger, fly. Energy that returns, reaching high. Energy that returns, everything you emit returns, stronger, fly. I live with you, emit returns, come back stronger, reaching higher. Energy that returns, emit and receive free. Energy that returns, everything you emit returns, stronger, like. I live what you emit, be just a flow, reaching higher. Energy that returns, emit and receive free. Energy that returns, setting me free. Energy that returns, energy that returns, energy that returns, rise stronger. Energy that returns, energy that returns, energy that returns, energy that returns, energy, rise stronger, reaching high, emit, free. Energy that returns, energy, stronger, reaching high, emit, free. Internal fuel, internal fuel. Internal fuel. Internal fuel. Motivation comes from within, doesn't depend on anyone. Internal fuel. Let's go. Internal fuel. Motivation comes from within, doesn't depend on anyone. Strong, I live fuel from within all along. Internal fuel, motivation from within here. Internal fuel, crystal clear. Internal fuel, motivation come within, doesn't depend on anyone. Now I live fuel from within, self-motivated, I take a vow. Internal fuel doesn't depend on anyone. Rise, internal fuel, claiming the prize. Internal fuel, motivation comes from within, doesn't depend on anyone real. I live fuel from within, comes from within, that's the deal. Internal fuel, motivation from within, shine. Internal fuel by design. Internal fuel, motivation come from within, doesn't depend on anyone pure. I live fuel from within, depend on no one, I'm sure. Internal fuel doesn't depend on anyone here. Internal fuel, crystal clear. Internal fuel, motivation comes from within, doesn't depend on anyone. Blessed, I live fuel from within, self-motivated, I'm blessed. Internal fuel, motivation from within, complete. Internal fuel can't be beat. Fuel, internal rise. Within, claiming the prize. Depend strong. Fuel, where I belong. Fuel, we in turn.
Internal fuel motivation come from within, doesn't depend on anyone true. I live fuel from within, breaking through. Internal fuel motivation from within, here bright. Internal fuel burning bright. Internal fuel motivation come from within, doesn't depend on anyone set. I live fuel from within, self-motivated, no regret. Internal fuel doesn't depend on anyone, rise gold. Internal fuel being bold. Internal fuel motivation come from within, doesn't depend on anyone deep. I live fuel from within, come from within, promises I keep. Internal fuel motivation from within, fly. Internal fuel reaching high. Internal fuel motivation come from within, doesn't depend on anyone, fire. I live fuel from within, depend on no one, reaching higher. Internal fuel doesn't depend on anyone, free. Internal fuel setting me free. Internal fuel motivation come from within, doesn't depend on anyone, lock. I live fuel from within, self-motivated, never block. Internal fuel motivation from within, complete weight in the fuel every day. Fuel, internal fly. Within, reaching high. Depend, free. Fuel, setting me free. Internal fuel. Internal fuel. Hunger for evolution. Hunger for evolution. Hunger for evolution. Never be satisfied, always seek more. Hunger for evolution. Let's go. Hunger for evolution. Never be satisfied, always seek more strong. I live always seeking more all along. Hunger for evolution, never satisfied. Here, hunger for evolution, crystal clear. Hunger for evolution, never be satisfied. Always seeking more now. I live always seeking more. Hunger evolution, I take a vow. Hunger for evolution, always seek more rise. Hunger for evolution, claiming the prize. Hunger for evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more real. I live always seeking more. That's the deal. Hunger for evolution, never satisfied. Shine, hunger for evolution by design. Hunger for evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more pure. I live always seeking more, seek more. I'm sure. Hunger for evolution, always seek more here. Hunger for evolution, crystal clear.
Evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more.
Bless.
Evolution, never satisfied. Watching more beat.
Evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more, always seeking more. Evolution, never satisfied. Watching evolution. Evolution, always seek more. Always more crystal clear. Evolution, seek more, never be satisfied. On within evolution, always seeking more in the vibe. Evolution, never evolution. Rules more certified. Evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more fine. Hunger for evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more true. I live always seeking more, breaking through. Hunger for evolution, never satisfied. Here bright. Hunger for evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more set. I live always seeking more. Hunger evolution, no regret. Hunger for evolution, always seek more. Rise gold. Hunger for evolution, being bold. Hunger for evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more deep. I live always seeking more. Always more. Promises I keep. Hunger for evolution, never satisfied. Fly. Hunger for evolution, reaching high. Hunger for evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more fire. I live always seeking more. Seek more. Reaching higher. Hunger for evolution, always seek more free. Hunger for evolution, setting me free. Hunger for evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more life. I live always seeking more. Hunger evolution, never bribe. Hunger for evolution, never satisfied. Complete weight. Hunger for evolution.
Hunger, evolution, never be satisfied. Always seek more.
Always seeking more.
Hunger, evolution, never satisfied.
Wanting more.
Be gone.
Evolution, always seek more. Always more, rich, gone. Hunger evolution, we seek more, never be satisfied.
Hunger evolution.
Hunger.
Impossible step. thought you couldn't. Impossible step. Let's go. Impossible step. Take that step you thought you couldn't. Strong. I live, take the step all along. Impossible step. Step you thought here. Impossible step. Crystal clear. Impossible step. Take that step you thought you couldn't. Now I live, take the step. Couldn't take, I take a vow. Impossible step. You thought you couldn't rise. Impossible step. Claiming the prize. Impossible step. Take that step you thought you couldn't read. I live, take the step. Thought you couldn't, that's the deal. Impossible step. Step you thought shine. Impossible step. By design. Impossible step. Take that step you thought you couldn't pure. I live, take the step. Couldn't take, I'm sure. Impossible step. You thought you couldn't hear. Impossible step. Crystal clear. Impossible. 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 Impossible step, step you thought you bright. Impossible step, burning bright. Impossible step, take that step you thought you couldn't say. I live, take the step, couldn't take, no regret. Impossible step, you thought you couldn't rise. Bold, impossible step, being bold. Impossible step, take that step you thought you couldn't deep. I live, take the step, thought you couldn't, promises I keep. Impossible step, step you thought fly. Impossible step, reaching high. Impossible step, take that step you thought you couldn't fight. Couldn't take, reaching higher. Impossible step, you thought you couldn't free. Impossible step, setting me free. Impossible step, take that step you thought you couldn't lock. Thought you couldn't ever block. Step you thought complete way. Impossible step every day. Impossible. 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 Impossible step, step you thought here, crown. Impossible step, never down. Impossible step, take that step you thought you couldn't power. I live, take the step, couldn't take every hour. Impossible step, you thought you couldn't rise, throne. Impossible step, I'm grown.
crystal clear. Display machine transform into someone who acts independent of emotion. Nah, I live acting independent of emotion. Machine like discipline, I take a vow. Display machine, emotion free action rise. Display machine, claiming the prize. Display machine transform into someone who acts independent of emotion. Real, I live acting independent of emotion. Discipline, not emotion. That's the deal. Display machine, discipline over emotion. Shine. Display machine, by design. Display machine transform into someone who acts independent of emotion. Pure, I live acting independent of emotion. Independent of emotion. I'm sure. Display machine, emotion free action here. Discipline machine, crystal clear. Display machine transform into someone who acts independent of emotion. Blessed, I live acting independent of emotion. Machine like discipline, I'm blessed. Discipline machine, discipline over emotion. Complete. Discipline, discipline, the machine. Rise. Independent, independent, claiming the prize. Emotion, emotion, strong. Discipline, discipline, where I transform into someone who acts independent of emotion. Deep, I live acting independent of emotion. Discipline, not emotion. Promises I keep. Discipline machine, discipline over emotion. Fly, 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 fly. Discipline machine, reaching high. Discipline machine transform into someone who acts independent